I can see that happening.
I think I saw an Instagram where this guy had like no arms, no legs,
I see now.
and was on a skateboard.
So just a torso.
And he was just like, and I'm like, you know what? And I think kind of this world is kind of built on, at least you're not that guy. Your situation may be, excuse my language, fucked
it's always
up.
But you're not him.
But you're not him.
You got your legs.
Yeah.
You know, so you can always try to find this world, this algorithm.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not saying we should be on. We should have the show started. But go ahead.
Because I do have another meeting after this.
Okay, so let's get it going.
Oh,
We've been recording, but we just hadn't brought in the show.
Which I love those types of shows where it's more organic.
I was going to say, we just keep flowing, and I can give all of the information at the end. So,
hey, at some point in time, the Joe Rogan thing, almost like where you're just talking because this is what the podcast is supposed to be about,
and that's the way we always approach it,
right?
And I like that you said it because we've been asked that question before, as far as our approach, and we always tell people it's really not an approach to anything. We want it to be a casual conversation because that's when you get the most out of people. Not nothing there's some structure to it, but we want the structure not to be visible.
Forced.
Right. To where you're like, okay, now it's another question. Oh, okay, now they're doing a follow-up. Like, we don't want you to be knowing that it's like that. We want it to be where if you sitting down in the living room with your friends,
or you having a conversation,
like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Like, it should just be that natural.
When I sat down, I was like, see, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, for my podcast, but it takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah, and time, consistency,
and commitment. Because we ended up making 2 podcasts because one of my partners wasn't showing up on time. I'm like, well, damn, we might as well go ahead and have this conversation.
To my right.
Joseph.
I'm sorry. I didn't know I was stepping in all these landmines.
You're fine because you know.
No, that's your boy.
Yeah, that's my boy. He don't be knowing. I might be late, but I still get everything done. It doesn't even matter.
But
they don't care. They can keep messing.
I can remember. I think the main podcast that we created was called This, That, and the Third. Because we're going to talk about this, that, and the third. And I'm actually the third as far as my actual name. So it kind of was this thing that we're playing into.
You're the third.
Joseph Wilkerson the third.
I'm the third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my family, they call me Trey because I'm the third.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
okay.
I even... to the point to where some of my family members didn't even know my first name.
Really?
Because it's always been Trey.
Right.
Yeah.
And they heard my first name and like, who?
Well, how'd you get Trey out of that? And it's like the third. It's like, oh. Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's deep. You know, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is.
Yeah.
I want you to go back to the algorithm. What made you start thinking on that level as...
I think it probably started with The Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, you kept watching them. Okay.
Very first time we watched it.
Okay.
You know, it's like, could you imagine that we're actually in The Matrix and because it's so perfectly executed that you don't even realize that you're in this computer simulation?
Right.
And of course, smoking weed didn't help either.
Or did it help?
In my head, so we'll come back to that. Certain things that open up your mind. You know, they say that third eye where you really see where. So, but
I can tell you some stories.
Because I want to come back to that because I know I have some stories. I know Kurt has stories. I think we all have stories of using some hallucinogens that kind of open you up
and you realize,
to things, right? And just not. So let me just say real quick. I feel like, and I told you this, we're almost in like a comatose type of state to be in this world that we're in. Because when you are open to everything that's really going around you, it's like, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. The vibrations, the energy,
it's a lot.
All the things that are going on.
Be overwhelming.
So it's like you got to be in a comatose state.
But do we really? Because whatever environment you are in, you will adjust.
Right.
But when you're adjusting on that level, I feel like you're adjusting with power. Like you're strengthening something that they or I don't know who they.
It's been dumbed down
very much
on purpose.
Yeah. On purpose.
Because if I have this
definitely
power,
on purpose,
and I can make sure that you're dumbed down, then I can always you know, I could be the puppet master.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Because now I can control.
Yeah. I know. What are you
push
doing?
You in the direction.
You're the one who's the algorithm.
I know. So let's go back.
The only reason I say algorithm is because I'm currently working on an erotic art piece.
Oh, yeah. The art show that's coming up.
Okay. So let's jump into that real quick.
It's called Obey the Algorithm. Well, that's a my presentation within the erotic art show.
Okay.
And I think it kind of started with Obey, which was Shepard Farley's, piece that really put him on the map as far as being a stencil artist. If y'all know who Shepard, I think I'm saying his name correctly. It's a white guy. He took Andre the Giant, which was this, massive wrestler.
The wrestler from WWF. Yeah.
Right. And put his face on like a stencil and was going around his college town, something of that nature. He has a documentary. Okay. And it kind of blew up. Needless to say, Obey is always kind of, and then you have Obey in, what's that movie? Roddy Piper from back in the day.
He was in WWF too.
Yes.
You taking me back.
I think it's They Live, where he had to put the glasses on, and then you would start to see some of the, we'll say algorithms, because we're playing on this particular word. So I've been playing and diving into this whole algorithm thing to the point with this erotic art show. It really started to stick with me. And then especially because I was looking for so much erotic art because I wanted to share it on our Instagram to kind of get people to understand what erotic art looks like as far as this show is concerned. So I was almost kind of curating our Instagram in preparation for the erotic art show. But it seemed like every time I would get on Instagram, I was always getting erotic stuff. And it's like the algorithm has now got most of my content around erotic stuff. So it was almost like obey the algorithm, because as much as you try to get out of it, at some point in time, you're going to swipe on something that's going to pull you right back down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I'm playing on that particular concept as far as obey the algorithm, because you can't kind of get around it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it manifests in other ways, whether it's your job or whether it's your family structure, or whether it's your church, the algorithm is there. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then of course, the Matrix, kind of made everybody realize that it's possible. And then you have Elon Musk saying it's possible. And you have Neil deGrasse Tyson saying it's possible. And why? And I think the other deeper part is there's a whole bunch of what they call non-playable characters.
Oh, yeah.
So you're always looking at like, is that a non-playable character over there?
It is.
We've had that discussion too.
The same thing. It's you can almost pinpoint their reaction on every single thing. Especially, I have been... indoctrinated at some points of how's the weather, that weather conversation. That's the programming of those what do you call them, the non-playable NPCs. It's a movie about that. The guy is the NPC and it's a video game, and then all of a sudden he starts thinking for himself. So it's on Netflix, and I cannot remember.
But I think you was going to step into where you was like, you're the only real, like the only person.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm the only real. I'm sure there are other real ones out there.
But it's how many do you come across?
I don't know.
And that's the...
and then once again, this is where you get down to the dumbing down.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's really by default.
You don't want to be over open to where that's all you do is try to figure out the algorithm and what and who is what in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've been down that rabbit hole before.
So I was on my knees in front of my neighbor one day, tripping, because I had almost gone down that rabbit hole. I mean, I had hearing stuff, to the point where it's like, did I just hear what I thought I heard in that song? And can you rewind that? Because I'm almost positive I heard what I thought I heard, and then when you go back to it, you don't hear it.
Well, if it's certain messages, that's what I was feeling through, because it's frequencies, and you can put whatever message you want. Whoever is allowing the frequencies to be played on the radio waves, they can put whatever they want in there.
And that's what they do. The frequencies that's played on the radio, certain frequencies they don't even allow on the radio.
Not the healing frequencies. When you get into the 528 megahertz, you're not going to hear that through the radios, because that's going to change the structure of your DNA. So, but if you go in ancient cultures, they always have the bowl, the singing bowls and things like that. So, you can kind of shake up those cells and renew them. But they're not going to do that on our radio stations. No, they're going to give you, they're going to
put it on low vibrations.
They're very low.
Very low. But I think that's how the NPCs are created. I don't think you're just born and you just don't become aware. Right. It's that you get programmed right here.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And they can't get out of it. Right. But then some of us, we will wake up like,
what the hell?
Something will catch you.
That's interesting. That's an interesting concept.
Oh, That's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read that, seen that, had additional conversations, or this is kind of something you've been doing your little doctoral?
Exactly. It's been my own experiment, and I was very aware at a young age that I cannot have this conversation with everybody.
You can't.
It's
like, look at you. They turn their head.
So I have an older sister. Shout out to Heavenly Walker. And she.
That's your last shout out. Go ahead.
Wow.
Anyway, and she was really. She's only 15. Happy New Year, guys. Yes, and she was 15 months ahead of me, and so she knew me. I mean, she knows me to the core.
Right.
And she would don't have those conversations outside of the house. Like she would make sure.
But y'all would have the conversation.
Well,
she didn't want to have it either.
Right. I was just talking to her. Okay. Like, I'm just like, whatever I'm thinking.
She checking you on it like, you shouldn't be talking.
This is only in the house.
Right.
Because you sound crazy.
And she don't want nobody thinking her sister crazy.
Right.
So it was more, she was more about her. She was thinking more about herself.
I thought she was trying to look out for me.
Well, she was to some degree.
To some degree. And then at the same time, she gets embarrassed, and I get it. Yeah. So it wasn't until I was older that I was connecting with my tribe, and because
everyone can't
have a conversation with people.
That their mind is not open to the point to where they can even have an understanding of what you're even speaking to,
right?
And what the question is,
right?
And that, like you said, that rabbit hole that you're going down, that they're completely lost. And you can see it quick. You can recognize it quickly. And for me, I want to okay, this is not a conversation. And
hence, and it's, and you're young, first of all. When this journey kind of starts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You're already navigating family structures and hierarchies, and then you have your job, and you may have a significant other. The last thing you need is this whole other, awakening at this age, and you don't even really have anybody to kind of, be a guide, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe that circle of friends is not, there. And we're all having this, this epiphany together, so to speak. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like testing, okay, did I see what I thought I see? Did I hear what I thought I heard? Is this happening, or am I tripping?
Am I tripping?
Am I tripping?
Right. But when you're saying that you have all these other things that come into play and you cannot focus on, that mindset that's telling you, dig deeper, dig deep. It's amazing to me that we don't have that time to sit with ourselves. We go straight into a responsibility, which is a part of the programming to me. Yeah. Because if I could get you to obtain responsibility early age and not discover who you are completely and not give two fucks about what this person think. But if you're marrying young in your 20s and you got the kids and then you got to take them here and you ain't got no time.
We're good over here. We ain't got to worry about that
for a while. We got you in this whole bubble because you got responsibility and you don't have time.
Right. But it's this whole reality is what they constructed, because we've talked about this on the show, where if you look at everything within the dynamics of your growth and development as an individual, nothing is ever touching on you discovering you and truly finding out who you are. Everything is set up for you to maneuver and navigate through this world that's already has been erected and set up, and the game is already laid out. And now you're having to work through it. And because we talk about it, even like with relationships, whether it's friendships or intimacy, all of those things, you can't, in my opinion, you can't have a successful relationship with anyone if you don't know who you are, if you haven't discovered yourself and understand what triggers you and all of those things.
Is that not part of the process then?
It is very much part of the process, but you got to find. I feel like you got to learn to put people around you that's on that same journey, because everybody is not on that same journey that we meet first. And you still.
Well, but see, to me, you don't even. To me, you won't actually go out and pick the people. It's like you attract it, but you don't attract that energy until you get there.
Right.
And then you start to attract it. And then you find yourselves in like conversations like these and meeting people, and you're like, okay, you know, because you're attracting it now.
Well, and maybe because there are just certain stages, like a butterfly, that you have to go through. You can't just go from here to wings.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not. If you can make that happen, now you're talking about some other stuff. You're talking about magic, you know. But I think it's almost like a gun. Okay, you're gonna have to start with a toy gun. Okay, because this is a powerful weapon that we're giving you, and we can't just be giving it to everybody.
Right.
Well, you know.
Okay, hold on. No, matter of fact, we're gonna start you with a squirt gun. Okay, if you even like squirt guns.
Right.
Matter of fact, it's almost like that. I think it's a kung fu movie, if you know the one. And the dad is talking to the baby. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna put the sword in front of you, and I'm gonna put the ball in front of you. But if you pick that ball, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to kill you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not raising a son to be a ball player. I'm raising my son to be a warrior with a sword. You know what I mean?
I don't need you.
I don't need you. This is not what I didn't create you to be that. I create you to be this. And I have to figure out which one are you. You know? So maybe the algorithm goes even that far back.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just becoming more aware of it because of social media and technology, and we're having these conversations.
Right.
You know, didn't know I was going to have this conversation today.
Yeah.
But here we are. And then if it gets shared with other people, now other people are having this conversation and at least saying.
And that starts to pick their brain and like,
But you start with a squirt gun, and then at some point in time, you know, we feel like, you know what? You seem to be a squirt gun shooter.
Yeah.
Let's get you a BB gun. Can't go from squirt gun to machine gun.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't go from I exist in this world. I'm no longer under the hammer of my parents. I've got a little bit of freedom. You know, I'm starting to kind of figure out what this thing is. Yes, there are going to be those landmines, those things you're going to have to navigate between your college friends that you thought you were going to build a business with, and you realize not all of them are leaders. If you're the leader, some of them are followers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, even... And
they're looking at you to tell them what to do.
And you don't necessarily have the time and the energy because you're like, I have this vision, and you have to also realize it's your vision.
And that part right there.
And they're tagging along.
And it's still your vision that they may not necessarily be as passionate about because it's your vision.
Right. And that's it.
You're thankful that they're even assisting you first and foremost.
Yeah.
Now, granted, not making no money doesn't help either.
Yeah. And then you have to learn to step into the role of project manager.
Right. Just gotta,
and delegate all the duties and move the pieces.
Right.
Yeah. But no one's going to be as invested as you are.
Right.
Because...
And you should be...
Because it's no money.
The most invested if you're trying to encourage them to be invested as well. You know, and then you're still trying to figure out your own management style. You know, how do I communicate to my friends when they're not necessarily, you know, pulling their weight, or better yet, because I'm doing everything, I'm not necessarily delegating as well as I should be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's just, you know, all the things that are along the way of getting to, oh, wow, my third eye has just opened because I have, through magic, smoked something, inhaled something, had a conversation with somebody, read something that then allowed me to say, you know what, I'm interested in where this
is going.
And so,
and can I figure it out?
And there's I can't remember where. I think I was watching it was either a podcast or I read it somewhere, but it was saying with as we moved into where we are now, as far as human beings, just human beings with our level of intellect, with our brains, and it said that it was where the development of our brains was a very slow process, and then we started eating mushrooms and other things that open it up. And we start
monkeys
looking at
right.
But we start looking at
believe it or not, that's in my obey the algorithm.
Okay. And then you start looking at things differently. You start making connections. You start having thoughts, and things start to open up more. That third eye opens up, and you're like, oh, well, what about this? What about now? You're exploring. You're out here. You're trying this. You're trying that. Where before you was more in like animals are. You was just
surviving.
Right. Yeah. And that was it. Right. And then our brain started to develop even more because now we started doing more with that. And so I'm like, is that. Because when you think about everything we do from when we come into the world, like the food we eat, the processed foods, even the fluoride that they give you to brush your teeth, all of that numbs certain things. And so it's like now if you don't get an understanding of that and start to bridge yourself away from that to get more.
Well, let me interject. Do we really? It's kind of like waking up in the Matrix.
Yeah. Do you want to take the red pill or the?
No. I don't even mean that part.
Okay.
Do you really want that? Yeah. Do you want to take the pill that's gonna because it's gonna set you aside?
You're like, oh shit,
and you will not fit in.
It's not that you'll
it's
adjust.
So hard to.
You'll adjust, but
you got to get that.
Do you want to be that wide open? Yeah. Sounds good. Looks good on TV. But when that thing pops open, you're like, oh my God, this is like even more than I thought it was going to be. I was literally watching one of these Disney shows before I came out here today. I forgot, it's a brand new one that just came out. And basically the father was this adventurer and her son, he was bringing his son along. And to be honest, it was the type of cartoon that I would be watching with my daughter.
Okay.
Oh.
And I watched it with her in mind.
Oh,
so there was a couple of parts where I started kind of crying because I'm like, you know what, I'm still, it's my daughter. I mean, her and her mother and I, we would have probably waited to that evening, Saturday night, got some food, all jumped into bed and watched this and would have enjoyed it. But the point is, they popped through this whole other world on the other side of, and it was like beautiful. I mean, the types of animals and flying things that were going through, you could have never imagined that was what was on the other side. You know what I mean? And I think that to some degree, when you wake up in the Matrix,
wake up out of the Matrix.
Well, out of the Matrix,
that's what you encounter.
That's what you're going to encounter. I mean, even like the movie They Live, when he put them glasses on, he started to realize there are a lot of aliens that are, when you take the glasses off, they look like a regular person. I put these glasses on. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh shit. I think I'd rather walk around blind now.
Okay, so one time I was tripping. I had that before. I was tripping. I don't know what was in the weed. But I went to a club.
Okay.
And everyone, whatever was on them, attached to them, whatever energy was morphing them. Yes. And some was ugly, some was nice looking, some was, but it was, you could tell like the dark. And I was like, I am so tripping. Like nobody else is seeing this. And I didn't, at first I was scared, but then I was just like, okay, but you're in it. Like, maneuver it. I'm not that person.
Pretend like you are normal.
Right. Hi. How you doing? Your face is like, right. But I knew the ones to stay away from.
Right.
I knew what rooms not to go into, but it's almost like when you have that feeling that you need to leave somewhere, that energy that you don't need to be there. Yeah. So
I'll give you a story. So me and my buddy, this is back when I smoked weed, obviously. And this is years ago. I don't even think my daughter was even born. It was so long ago.
I thought you were just gonna say yesterday.
No. But we had gone to a pool hall off about Gate City Boulevard.
Okay.
BG McGee's, which has been torn down at this point.
I remember BG.
I remember BG.
I think we were like one of the first black people that really went in there on a regular basis and really opened it up for the rest of the community, because it was, pretty much, I can say so. It wasn't a redneck spot, but it was definitely not a.
It was on Groomtown Road. It was definitely a redneck spot. And then
we went in there
and we transformed it into the hood.
I think we brought our energy. It got transformed to the hood.
That's it.
And at that point we were already kind of transitioning out.
Right. Right.
But I was in there. I had smoked some weed earlier. And me and my buddy Sam would go in there, and we usually play the first one to win 10 games. So sometimes he could beat me 10-1, It'd be a quick day, and sometimes it'd be 10-9, which means we played 19 games of pool. Yeah. But we had a good time playing. But you hate to lose. Needless to say, I was spanking his ass in this. I think it was the first game we played.
Yeah.
And I'm high, but I'm winning.
Right.
Nothing like winning.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing
on
like
the 8 ball. He got like maybe 1 or 2 balls still on the table. And these guys came in, and one guy in particular had on shades. And I'm like, it's kind of already dark in here, so I'm not really sure why this dude has on shades, but interesting nonetheless. But as I'm shooting, it's almost like I'm hearing this double talk. Okay. And the double talk is God and the devil saying, if he misses this, he's mine.
Yeah.
And it fucked with me so bad, I had to leave.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is like the first game. This is what is going on. You know what I mean? Because like I just told you, we normally play the first one to win 10. It was the energy was too much for me. We messed around and went to Blockbuster. I'm dating myself. Blockbuster had so many different movies, titles that was fucking with me. Where I'm like, I got to go from Blockbuster because I'm just way too open right now for all of this information that's coming in to the point where I got to go home. So I say, be careful what you ask for. Not to say that I have indisputable proof that there is this other level. All I can say is, as far as the surface things that we have apparently all experienced, that matrix might be what we need in order, but needless to say.
But that's why I say that we're in that comatose because it's so much. Like we need to be in the end before just to jump in.
I'm gonna let you jump in because my Blockbuster. I'm connecting with the Blockbuster moment. Okay.
Because I'm connecting with Joseph was saying as far as being open and it being too much. Because I remember the first time I did a hallucinogen, and you have these questions and thoughts. And the way you have a perspective of things based off of your experience of life up to this point. And then when I was on taking this extra
narcotic.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a good word. Yeah. Thank you, Joseph.
Just say it. I'm like, damn.
I want to say it. I want to find a better word.
Exactly. I want to find a word more.
What did you find it?
So with that,
did he find the word?
Yeah, narcotic. We would use narcotic. Okay. So with that, it was where all of these things started coming to me, and it was so much. To where I was almost like saying I was speaking to all of it that was coming at me and saying like, okay, as I question this, I shouldn't have questioned this. This is going on where I thought I didn't need this or I didn't need that. And now I'm realizing it was removed. Like in this moment, that stuff that I said I didn't need was removed. And I realized I need that. Right. I want it. And I would be more humble if I could get that back. And it was, and going through all of that, it brought me, when I came out of it, I was completely aware of the journey that I took. But so much of a different person is my mindset, the way and my approach to things completely changed.
Interesting.
And the way I looked at it. And that was, when I talked to you, having an appreciation of people. It's just letting people be who they are. And now I have an appreciation for everyone. And in that, there's peace in that.
Right.
And I'm not looking to change anyone. I'm not looking to judge anyone because I allow you to be who you are. You being who you are doesn't mean it aligns with me because I feel like we're not all supposed to like one another, but that's the norm in my mind. That's just it. We're individuals. We try to put ourselves under one umbrella and act like we're all supposed to march to the same tune, but we don't. And it's okay. That's the greatness in who we are as human beings. So with that piece, but when you were saying that, it just brought me back to that moment. I was like, I remember that. And then, and I'm going to say this last thing. Everything looked like a program.
Interesting.
Everything was like, when you see, if you ever seen, it's a game where you're building the whole world and stuff. And I can't
think. Is it Minecraft?
Yes, Minecraft. Really? Everything kind of reminded me of that, where everything was like pieces all being put together, and it was all being built. And it was like, oh, this is all like I was thinking like this is just the matrix.
This is why you were still under the influence.
Yeah, so I was still under the influence, and I'm saying, and I'm like, like this is the reality. This is the true reality.
The true reality.
That's how I was looking at it, because things was so clear. My vision, like hearing, everything was so sharp, but just the energy from everything that I interacted with, from because everything is living around us, but we disregard it because it just so is. It's like, that's just a tree. That's
we disregard it because we're dumbed down.
Yeah. Well, but it's just, we interact with it so much as far as like tree, when you just think about plants and things of that nature. But then the energy was there. But like I said, it was a lot. And then it was like, okay.
It's interesting. And I definitely want you to do your blockbuster conversation. It makes me think about that cartoon I was watching, and there was a lot of energy in these animals. And I just wondering if you watch it from that perspective, you kind of go into, like, I know this is a surface level kids movie,
right?
But at the same time, there's adults behind it that probably is, kind of sliding in, messages,
and they do,
messages.
Which reminds me of my Pee Wee Herman TV show that I added to the algorithm, and the fact that if
Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse,
yes, there's a lot of sexual innuendos in that show. I don't know if people remember that. That's the reason why I'm showing it to them, to say, don't forget, this is the type of stuff that was in Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Right.
But it's erotic, especially the way that I edit it. But needless to say. So
your blockbuster moment when you was looking at the titles.
Yeah.
So that stuck out to me because words are so powerful, and our language, I feel like, does have subliminal messages and the wordings and things of that nature. And for you to be in that space where you could kind of actually pick up on, because you're in Blockbuster, so it's everywhere.
Yeah. And remember, words are spells. That's why they call it spelling.
Right.
So it's a spell.
And advertisement knows that. In the advertisement industry, they know these things. So they do use the words and symbols to play on certain frequencies to draw you to that particular thing.
Well, it's not like I haven't created my own stuff with that in mind.
Right.
I'm not going to say I encourage, but it would be interesting for somebody that is on a narcotic to watch my stuff, to kind of see if they can find those hidden messages and connect those dots.
Right.
I think we're all kind of playing these games, and some of us are, builders inside the game.
That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
I like to be the builder.
Yeah.
I'm not into just
playing the game.
The game.
I mean, even though by default
you playing the game.
But
can I make my own table?
Right. Because
do I have to sit at your table, or can I create my own table?
This podcast to some degree is you guys creating within the game to say, hey, I want to try to help people navigate the game and maybe even push the building component even further.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to get into your art.
Okay.
Because I've known you for a while, and when I met you through.
Lavinia. At what's that spot? Revolution's Mill. You guys had some type of
art studio. It was at art residency. Yeah, that we was at.
And I was doing. She said, "Oh, this is Tiffany. She's paper to film.
Yep.
She's filmmaker." And I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I met you.
I'm like, kind of cute.
You silly.
Yeah, but, on that day, all
the time. But every time I see her, and we kind of vibed on that. But I was like, I'm not really trying to do no film stuff right now,
because you had already been doing film stuff.
I had already been.
So you was like ahead of me, because I didn't know your story.
You was just stepping into it.
I was just stepping into it.
You had already been traveling down that path.
Yeah, he was doing film festivals. He was doing film festivals and everything.
I not to toot my own horn, I feel like I was ahead of my time. Especially when the term content creator wasn't a term that we were using back then, but theoretically that's kind of what we were doing in the medium that was available. That it's kind of like, if you go back, my company was called Urban Literature, and wow, This is coming full circle.
Yeah.
Urban literature.
My buddy had drawn a picture of a guy smoking weed, floating in the air, head down, joint in his hand, almost like a no-name t-shirt on. And that's kind of our thing. We were never really into name brand stuff. But I said, that's some herb and some literature because it spoke without having to be so obvious.
Right.
He's floating in the air. He's got a joint in his hand. He's high.
High, yeah.
It then morphed into the film festival because I saw at this point that there was a lot of opportunity in the Black community to start telling our stories, especially when you juxtapose it with what was going on in the hip hop community. Hip hop was this hobby, so to speak, that was happening in our community, and it grew into what it's become, and as influential as it has been on society as a whole. And then when you look at the fact that you had artists like LL Cool J, Queen Latifah, Common, the list, Ice Cube, all transition into making films or acting in films, it's like, okay, I'm seeing that we're going to start creating our own stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate to have that thought process. So plus I was already trying to create my own movie. Which I was trying to work with a guy that had public access. He had access to a camera. I'm like, listen, I'll pull my weight. I'll get a desktop. I got a G4. The guy at CompUSA came by the house, installed a Final Cut Pro on my computer, and saved me like $200-300. I was like, damn, I appreciate it, bro. You start me off,
You started off good. With Final Cut Pro. Yeah.
But then the guy got missing and never saw him again. And so. But then the thought became, even if I make this film, does it go straight to Hollywood? How does this thing really work?
Right. Well, what's the path after that? Right. Those steps you got to take.
So I kind of stumbled onto the concepts of film festivals. And I'm like, oh, okay. Film festival is kind of like the way station. People come, they see your stuff. It gets elevated, it gets known, and you get in contact with Hollywood and so forth and so on.
That's
okay, well, where are the film festivals here in North Carolina? Because I'm in North Carolina. There's cons, and there's the South by Southwest, which I think may have been out at that point in time. There's the other name brand ones that are around, but where's the one here in North Carolina? The only one that I could find that was specifically Black was down in Wilmington. So when I went to the website and looked up what they had available, I'm like, yeah, none of that shit is really popping for me. Right. It wasn't urban in my opinion. It was Black, but it didn't really say graffiti. It didn't say hip hop.
Yeah.
So I tell you what I'm gonna do, and as I'm looking even further specifically for urban hip hop type of film festival, there was the I think the hip hop film festival might have been one, but of course that's probably in New York somewhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know what?
You're about to do your own.
I'm about to do my own. Yeah. Right here in Greensboro. And then you're connecting all these dots. Newspaper came out, First in Flight. I'm like, man, we first in flight with this film festival.
Yeah.
Hip hop, urban, right here in Greensboro. But getting back to hip hop, so you had the hip hop artists, you had the magazine like The Source.
Right.
I remember.
So after we did our first film festival, I said, you know what, we need to do a magazine.
Where was the location?
Carolina Theater.
Oh, okay.
4 days. Yeah. First film festival, 4 days, had it the entire day.
Wow.
And still kind of navigating what a film festival is supposed to look like. Yeah. I was really trying to give people their money's worth as an idiot. But once again,
you're just stepping into right.
It's brand new. It's new to the community. Like, what is a film festival? I think UNCG may have had a film festival. I know there was one in Winston. It was called the River One Film Festival because I ended up dating one of the ladies out there. That's a long
you had a flashback moment right there.
But that's
but so after doing the film festival, I felt like, okay, if I'm following hip hop, you need to know who the filmmakers are. You need to know what kind of equipment they're using, the actors, all that stuff. So I want to also document that because at the same time, if hip hop is doing what it's doing and they have a magazine, I want to create a magazine because at some point in time, I want this magazine to just be a source for the Black community when it comes to the types of equipment, the type of computer, all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's how the magazine came into fruition. But what was happening was it wasn't really resonating. Okay, getting back to the film festival, it charged like $3 for early bird, $5, but it was like an all day thing.
Right.
You don't have to come all day, but as long as you got your ticket, you can come in at any point in time, and you can just watch as many films.
The films that was in the film festival, was it collected from only the community independent filmmakers, or then you opened it up to?
Oh no, I was international.
Oh my goodness! Really? How did you get the entries? Yeah. That is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Who was helping you?
I was doing most of it because you're technically kind of like writing the manual on how these things are supposed to be done. And of course, it's just me and my partner, Leo. I think we might have brought in a couple more people. Matter of fact, one of my coworkers, she came in. It was just, you don't necessarily have a how-to guide. I'll tell you what I did. Because I was looking at other film festival websites. More specifically for films that I felt would fit our
your festival.
Right, okay. Our festival. Or if they were a person of color, because now I would say this because I didn't want to come off as being racist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't care if you were white. Okay. As long as it was urban theme in nature.
Right.
Okay. And even if it's a whole bunch of white kids, as long as they're talking in a dialect, there's some type of soundtrack. The clothing, the setting. I think I had like maybe 10 to 11 criteria. And as long as you had at least 3 of those, we would accept it as far as an urban theme film. Matter of fact, I got Casey Neistat, who is pretty popular as far as being a YouTuber. And he did a short video about Apple's iPod. And the fact that the Apple iPod back then, which a lot of people didn't know, didn't have a removable battery. So when his iPod stopped, lasting as long as he was accustomed to, he recorded and started to do these videos that really kind of blew up. I think he did the song was I want to say it was a NWA something. I can't think of it. I can get the melody, but I'm not going to sing because I don't remember. But the point is, it was urban enough where I reached out to him and said, hey, we're doing a film festival here in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Would you be interested in submitting? Now, the one problem that I had with doing the film festival was I kind of felt like it wasn't fair for the artist, the filmmaker, to pay me to submit their film.
But that's how they all work, though.
But that's how they all run. It's like, I can't even have a film festival without your film, but I'm also asking you to pay me to submit your film.
Yeah.
But if that's the way it's going to go,
because you're providing the exposure.
That's what I was going to say.
But it is. But it's
a catch-22.
It is.
Right. You need each other.
We need each other.
Right.
Yeah. So between jumping from website to website, and then more importantly, some of these websites back then were not sharing email addresses. I'm not giving you the email address to Casey Neistat. Are you crazy? I'm not doing that. Yeah. So it's a lot of work, just going down that rabbit hole of taking his name and seeing if there's any other place that I can potentially find this email address or a phone number or something, so I can say, hey, we're brand new to the film festival industry, but we're doing a film festival. And I really think that your film would be a welcome addition to our festival. Here's the application. Please consider it. And it's nothing like going to the mailbox.
Yeah.
And there's a package in there. You're like, I got another film.
Yeah. You are dating yourself for real.
Because
it's like, I got another film.
I got a VHS.
Yes.
I got a DVD.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get some of these, like we're in PAL, which is like an overseas format. You got to take it to another place to get it.
How did you advertise all of this? Because social media didn't exist. So you was really doing like the groundwork.
This is create your own website. And just go down the rabbit hole of search engines and just try to find film festivals.
Yeah.
And then, it was just a lot.
And then you would email the people and let them know about the film festival.
Outside of if there was any type of, image of potentially the film, I'll tell you 2 good stories. Reading the synopsis of the film and hoping that, based on those 2 elements, it's something that would potentially play well at our film festival.
Okay.
I got The Murder of Emmett Till for my very first film festival.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. and I got Afropunk. If you're familiar with Afropunk, y'all don't know about Afropunk?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, Afropunk is big, like alternative.
Oh, the music
festival.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's black punk. You know, it's. But before it was the festival, it was a documentary.
So like the group what was the group? Living Color?
Yeah. That type of, performance. So they were just saying, hey, Black people have been in punk music for a long time, but if you don't know this, we're showing you, footage and, all this stuff that kind of helps document the stages of Blacks in punk. And they called it Afropunk. Okay. Never would have thought it would have grown to this massive, festival in Brooklyn and France and in Atlanta. I went to the one in Atlanta a couple of years ago, research to some degree. I'm like, I want to, I showed your film festival. Let's have this conversation. I showed your film, my film festival. I'm trying to have a conversation with y'all to bring that to Greensboro. I'm always trying to bring something to Greensboro. That's what's bare minimum, create something similar. Because it obviously works. And I came up with the Aphrodisiac Festival.
Yeah. It was a lot that you had done. I know I found out more information from Darlene and Sonny at the time because they had known you in the community. And I was just like, it was so amazing because Greensboro is not big, but it's
a lot of talent in Greensboro.
Right. And so if you're not around certain people, then some people may pass by you and you not even know that they're doing things in the community. But I do want to talk about what you're doing now as far as Uptown Greensboro.
Okay.
How did that come about? Yeah. And what is Uptown Greensboro?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Let's define that for everyone.
As if I wasn't already doing enough. I had the film festival. I had... Urban Literature Magazine. I started I didn't start. I co-started Reign Supreme Beat Battle, which was really tied back into the film festival because I started to realize once again the film festival and the magazine wasn't urban and hip hop enough. It was kind of eclectic, so to speak. It was definitely before people realized that there's a lot of opportunities in filmmaking, let alone 30-second minute long clips that have taken off, but I was trying to find a way to connect with our community and Josephus Thompson, his brother, B Star, because I had helped Josephus
on the show.
We do, yeah. Go ahead.
I just clicked.
Okay. I was working with Josephus and Woman's Storm at some point in time when they had I forgot the name of the groups in the magazine, but they were performing at Club 9 off of Patterson Street. So I'm hanging out there trying to be supportive. His brother's out there. We're having a conversation. Hey, you're Joseph's brother. I can be respectful. Hey, how was your weekend?
Exactly. Yeah.
NPC.
How's the weather?
He's like, I was in Charlotte with my producer. At a beat battle. I'm like, what's this beat battle? Producers versus producer competition. I'm like, that's a pretty dope, concept. I've never heard of that, but the amount of beat makers around Greensboro has got to be, crazy.
Right.
So we built a beat battle here in Greensboro, but for me, it was more so these are the producers of the music in the films that I'm trying to help create. They're already working with a number of these rappers who are potentially the actors that should be in this film. So for me, I'm now trying to pull this thing full circle. Somehow I end up in Charlotte with my my girlfriend and my daughter at some point in time, and you're in Charlotte, and you're like, Uptown Charlotte, this is nice.
Yeah.
Why does the Black side of Greensboro, A&T side of Greensboro, why can't it go through development? And then when you're driving around Greensboro and you're seeing, okay, they're doing this over here and they're doing this over here and they're doing this over here. And
why they're not doing anything?
They're still not doing anything over here.
Yeah.
I think also with downtown, when I start to really say, do I want to do something downtown versus over here? And then, having been born in Brooklyn, my grandfather being a carpenter, more or less handyman, brownstones, there's a lot of things that are just starting to connect. And so I brought to my team, believe it or not, y'all, I have another idea, but it's so massive that I don't really think we even have the operational power to even move on that, because we're doing a film festival, we're doing a magazine, which I'm doing the magazine, and cut my teeth on that. And we're producing a beat battle, you know, almost to the point where it's almost every other month. It was almost going monthly because it was just that much, you know, people that were interested in that particular project. So I had to sit on it for like 6 years. Yeah. You know, I came up with it, bought the domain name, and just sat on it. Like, I can't do that right now. I mean, my vision for it, now it's even bigger now than it was then, but even then it was too big. So imagine what it is now. It's like, oh my God.
Compared to,
So, and so what I end up doing, when everything kind of shut down, I didn't have them. Once again, when you're trying to communicate, you're trying to delegate, and you're still trying to navigate, you know, how do I do that as the leader with the vision, and we're not making any money, and you're trying to encourage people to do their part.
Exactly.
And you don't mind doing everything, but at the same time, I do have partners, and I do need to give them some work. So I did push off the film festival onto my partner Leo and Kiki. The beat battle, okay, Felix, you're going to be running the beat battle until he starts changing the beat battle. And we're like, why are you changing the beat battle? Now I got to come over here and fix something that was already working perfectly fine. My girlfriend, I'm trying to put her as the editor of the magazine. Why are we beefing on you being the editor of the magazine and you being on your own timeline versus you being on my timeline? Because I'm the one that has to actually design the magazine and send it to the printers and get it back on time, because there's got to be another magazine that's going to come out at some point in time. So it's just way too many things going off in too many different directions. I said, you know what? Excuse my language. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Shut it all down. Yeah, you got to skim it back.
Shut it all down.
Yeah.
And it took me some years. And at some point in time, I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start doing this Uptown Greensboro thing. But there was a fork in the road. And that fork in the road is art gallery. So I opened up an art gallery in the community, and I called it Uptown Artworks, because I was kind of staking the flag. So you know what? I'm not going to really push this Uptown Greensboro thing just yet. What I would like to do, if this is a Monopoly board, I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of pieces. In the art gallery.
I like that.
Where was it located?
Right beside Boston's House of Jazz.
Okay, I thought so. That's what I had no idea it was you when I've been there. Yeah. 6,000
square foot warehouse. Much cheaper than what I would have paid if I was downtown. And that was another, you know, that's another thing about when you're community developing a certain side of town, is that, you know, it's attractive when you don't have any finances. You know what I mean? Because if I wanted to be here, I'm pretty sure y'all spending about what I was paying for a 6,000 square foot building. Okay. If not more. But because I'm on the black side of town. Versus being downtown where, you know, everything is nicer. But so I end up grabbing the 6,000 square foot gallery space, put in 15 studio spaces, starting putting on all these shows. And at some point in time, I said, you know what? Let's start pushing Uptown Greensboro. And started working with this guy named Rachel Stokes, because he was doing some stuff over here downtown. He was in some Carolina magazine, you know, black man, you know, real estate. Matter of fact, has a real estate office in the community. So it was almost like, oh wow, I really should be working with him, because he has this real estate mindset. I have this vision of what I would like to see happening in this community. And there's everything from, you know, obviously the basics. You know, you want to have restaurants. You want to create destinations.
Exactly.
And those destinations are everything.
Because that's going to pull the people in. Yeah.
That's going to pull people in. You know, matter of fact, and then you have A&T. And the problem with that is, and you have to kind of put yourself in those kids' position. Not to say I didn't go to A&T, but at some point in time when you graduate, it's like, why the hell would I stay on this side of town? This ain't balling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And especially with Instagram, I want everybody to know I'm lit.
Right.
And this ain't lit over here. So obviously I'm going to live on a certain side of town that has a certain type of prestige. And it just keeps falling behind. So you have to, so when we talk about the black dollar not circulating in our own communities, because, you know, we have the mobility to live where we want at the detriment to our community.
That part, right?
Because we're not investing. And a lot of times we're not investing because we don't necessarily have a vision. And that's because, listen, I just graduated from college. I want to have fun. You know, I want to live in an apartment. I want to go travel.
But we're not taught to have that type of vision when you graduate.
Not
it's so many other universities that they do teach. They have courses that teach you about community and how to have that economic wealth.
Right.
We don't get that. So it is about spending for us.
Yes.
We just want to spend and look good.
But also too, and not to get too far because I want you to finish with the conversation, but that's too where when you think about where we are just as a race of people here in the United States, we're still just, getting an understanding and awareness of things.
Okay.
So being where, as one person put it, we're just coming out of the block in the race, where the white man is already at the finish line because of the delay and progression for us. And so with that, when you think about it, we're still in that stage of, or the phase of getting an understanding of business, an understanding of how to develop a business, how to erect it, how to, as you talk about, it's one thing to have the idea and everything and the concept, and then it's another thing to bring that to a realization of something that's tangible that you can actually touch and show people and everything.
And I've noticed in the Greensboro community with artists, we have a lot of great ideas and things of that nature, but it's hard to get it started because we don't have the resources.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of us don't want to work together like that because you want your own shine. So, but that's another story. I ain't gonna go down that whole rabbit hole, but I know you understand because you having a team. It kind of stuck out to me. Cause I'm like, dang, you had a team because it was so.
Team now or team back then?
I thought you were saying you had a team back then. You was delegating.
Yes, I have a team.
Hey, yeah. I mean, because around my era, everybody was trying to do everything by themselves. I mean, like individual.
Well, I'll say this, and I say this all the time. There are two types of people when you're a visionary, when you're a leader, and you're trying to build with other people. Mm-hmm. There's going to be people that ain't doing shit. There's going to be people that are doing shit.
Yeah,
and it's the people that are doing shit that you want to do shit with, but they're doing shit.
Right
now, the people that are not doing shit. You ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
But you're not doing shit for a reason. And those are the hardest ones to work with because you got to get them into not doing shit, into doing stuff where they can start to realize, to some degree, I'm starting to find my purpose. Somebody is invested in me, and it might take some time. And that's where the communication stuff kind of comes in because real talk, I ain't going to talk shit about my partner. But he sent a message today. I ain't gonna make the meeting today. Right. We just had at the Green Bean for the erotic art show with the band that we're having. Not that he needed to be there, but I don't want him to get complacent with not
being there.
With not being there.
Yeah.
And there's a.
I know about partner not being there.
No, she not looking at me like that. She had another partner because I looked over at you when not saying you. I looked over at you because I know the situation with we're not gonna say
my
who,
other partner,
but
paper to film,
right?
I know you're the partner.
I know.
Cause we'll have those.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff,
It is.
And once again, when you talk about, do I want to elevate to this other level?
Yeah.
But there's still some of this surface level stuff that still, is a black hole in itself that's kind of pulling you. It's kind of like, if I go over here, I may never come back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So I always call it with those that you say that's not doing shit. To me, they are the ones who, I tell you this all the time. They're just what I call creating sound. It sounds good. They got these thoughts, these ideas. They're like, oh, yeah, we should do this. We should do that. Right. And then when you're like, all right, let's make this move. Right. We got a path right here. I've already contacted this person. You've already made some initial steps to get the ball rolling.
You or them?
You.
Okay.
And then you bring it to them, like, hey, let's do this. We're going to meet here. We're going to do that. And they're like, oh, well, they got all these excuses, all these things to justify why they can't get to the table to sit down and do these things.
I'll say this, and this kind of goes back to my first team.
Okay.
got to give people grace.
I haven't given nobody no grace.
That I am really trying to implement into my coding, because I feel like after COVID, I got my system was upgraded to some degree. But there's certain things that I still pull forward, and that is giving grace.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not. I would tell this to my sister that I don't speak to. Mm-hmm. I would tell it to my daughter. I'm not your God. Okay? I might be your brother. I might be your father. And I would hope that we have built a relationship where you know that I have nothing but your best interests at heart. I can't necessarily tell you that whatever I'm telling you is going to be perfect and it's going to, get you over the hump, but don't get it twisted. Whatever I'm telling you, I'm telling it to you because I would tell it to myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? But with my partner, he may have been tired. Okay, you know what? It's kind of convenient, conveniently inconvenient that you're tired today, especially when you thought that the meeting was 2 weeks ago and you was trying to get out of it then. Mm-hmm. But now you're getting out of it now.
Yeah, you got to evaluate that though.
I'm going to talk to you the way that I'm going to talk to anybody in this company, so to speak, that would pull that. So when my other partner called me, it's like, yo, that was a little spicy. I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. I would have told you the exact same thing. So I don't want him to feel like, why are you talking to me like this, but you don't talk to him like I'm talking to all of y'all like this. Yeah. And I would expect you guys to talk to me the same way.
Right.
But you got to give people grace. So you still want to be the authority figure because that's the position that you have taken.
But you've been doing this a long time,
and that's the reason why I know that you have to give people grace
because of that.
Because we're all human. Nobody's perfect.
I know, but if you're in a business,
listen. If I forgot to put this podcast in my calendar, and I would have missed it, I would hope that you would give me grace.
Yeah, it would have been no problem.
But you don't have to because, listen, I done this way too many times. This is so unprofessional. I don't do this. I don't care who you are. Unless you're Diddy.
The only reason I'm saying that is because it's different when you have a business partner, though.
It is
at this time in the game. Like you're not going to be hired in a company if you're not showing efforts to be at the meetings. We've got a project that we're doing, and it is. If the excuse is I'm tired.
Yeah. Well, I think with the grace is before you start seeing.
You are not invited. Get as much rest as you need.
But that's before you start seeing a trend. So you do give. So I do think that grace is given. I think once you start seeing a trend.
Yes.
Now, if you missing every meeting, every time, then you're like what the.
But enough grace has been given.
Exactly. Yeah, because I see where you're coming from.
Right.
But you'll go.
There's degrees. There's levels. There is a cutoff point. I don't know what that is.
All right.
This is not that point.
Okay. All right. We're at the beginning.
This is just me reprimanding because I have to as the leader.
You do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you don't, it's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I got a mulligan. I can do this again.
Yeah. And people will.
Then show up like I helped.
Yeah, but as I always say, people are going to do what you allow them to do.
That's a whole other thing. Don't be out here on the gram flexing.
Hey, you didn't even come to none of the meetings.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Okay, you know what, Grace? Keep it moving. Whatever. It helps with the marketing. So you have to try to find a positive.
Oh, look at you. Good job.
I think I'm a great person when I can be. And I try to be more great than ungrateful.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Like that.
This world is too short, and I have had too many fucked up situations to act like I got it all figured out because I don't.
Right.
And whether I'm being dumbed down for my own mental health or not.
Maybe we are.
We are.
Yeah.
We definitely want to put on them butterfly wings and see what's out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I still want to go back a little bit to Uptown because this is when I knew you were serious about it. Because I had no clue about Uptown until the Chamber of Greensboro brought it up.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this?
I don't know. Did you had to go to the Chamber of Greensboro?
I mean, I've had conversations with everybody.
Okay. All right. So this was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And your name came up, but you know, Joseph Wilkerson is trying to do Uptown Greensboro. I was like, Joseph, I know that name. And they kept talking. These are chamber, not members, but the people that work at the chamber.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I'm not there. Which I always find interesting.
What?
That these conversations are happening, and I'm not in the room.
Right.
Did you have a blueprint or something? Like you had it?
Oh, there's a map.
Okay, so they were talking about the map. I don't know who you showed this to.
Yeah, it's on the website.
And this is before you had your Instagram or anything about Uptown. Wow. Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Okay.
When I heard of it.
Okay.
And I was like, that's so interesting. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I was scared for you because I know how things are taken. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was just like, this is... Okay.
You can't take it. Like I said,
that was where I was leading into what kind of...
I bought the domain name... Wow. No, that's Urban Legend, 1996. 2006.
Okay.
So I've had it, I have the .com and the .net because when I'm researching and I'm looking at downtown Greensboro, I think downtown Greensboro at one point in time had the .net because somebody else had the .com, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm like, the official one is .net because somebody else bought the .com.
Okay.
I'm going to buy both of those. So I might
have to worry about that happening, right?
Not that .net was even really the more popular of the two, but you can put in Uptown Greensboro.net. It's going to send you to UptownGreensboro.com.
Good. Okay.
And I had it since 2006. Like I said, I don't think it was until 2012, 2013 when I probably put the first Uptown Greensboro magazine out just to say, hey, this is what I believe Uptown Greensboro should, not say look like, but the thought process.
Right.
There should be destinations, there should be hotels, there should be restaurants, there should be theater spaces, there should be better homes. I've upgraded now where, we should have solar powered homes because obviously that's the direction that we're going as far as these electric vehicles. And I think, when people start to look, when these young kids start to realize, oh, I no longer want to live in an apartment. I want to live in a house. And if I want to live in a house and I have an electric car, where are the houses that have electric, that have solar powered roofs and plugins? Oh, in Uptown. Yeah. Okay. Which also means that you need to have a school system. You need to have a better school in that community because obviously if you're, going to have a family.
You want to know that the school is a good school.
Yeah, so it's a chicken and egg situation where it's like, okay, do you do the school first or do you do the houses first? Because people will move into a house and travel.
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to move into the community if the school system is on that whole other level. And I have Uptown Polytech is the school name for the community that I would want to build the school around with that type of mindset. And then even to the point where, I'm looking at it from the teacher's perspective. I want to make sure that we get the best quality teachers. And what does that mean? It may damn near mean you got a free house to live in.
Yeah.
Still going to pay you. But, or if I could, and this is a whole nother thought, almost like a 7, 8, 9, 10 story school where the teachers live, on the upstairs floors, granted, it's going to be kind of hard to call it sick when you live upstairs. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about when it comes to connecting the dots to make Uptown make sense. But here's the ultimate problem. A&T.
Because
they're trying to buy up everything.
The same way High Point University is doing in High Point.
Yeah, not to shit on my, on my alma mater.
Yeah,
my mom and dad both met there and made baby Joseph.
UNC and Chapel Hill. The universities do that. Like
they're trying to buy. And here's the thing, and the reason why there's a little bit of pushback, I believe, as far as Uptown coming into fruition, is because we want to buy this property as cheap as possible. But if we know that there's revitalization coming in,
that's going to
all of a sudden everybody's like, I need a little bit more for this. And because I see that you're buying it, the next piece of property needs to be a little bit more than that. So that's the reason why when I said I started my art gallery and I was trying to create, get as many pieces on the board as possible, because I think once you realize, this revitalization is happening. Damn.
You need to have property monopoly.
I need to have a couple of pieces.
Yeah, you do.
The gallery was the default. A restaurant, not necessarily a club. I'm not really the club person. I'll leave it to Boston and them. Matter of fact, let me buy your property. Let me.
Did they ever buy their property? I think they did.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as construction is concerned,
right?
If I can buy this property over here and help you guys, here's. And I'm definitely gonna have to run in a little while.
Okay. Well, right after you finish this, I just need you to tell us a little bit about your
the erotic show.
Yeah, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay. I think there's a way to revitalize the community without displacing the people in the community, because that's obviously the types of conversations that you're going to inevitably have when it comes to gentrification. My idea of gentrification is Black people moving into the community that have, certain economic wealth in that context. I can't necessarily say white guy over there, Chinese person over there, because it's going to be a cool spot. Who the fuck wouldn't want to move into Uptown if it grows and develops, the way that it could possibly, be interpreted.
Because it becomes enticing at that point.
I mean, that's the whole idea.
Right.
But for those of you that are living in a not so great place, but I need your spot, I'm going to build a spot over here and move you over there. Theoretically, nothing should change if you already own this spot. Now, granted, it's going to be a lot of conversation because you own your house, and your house is valued at, let's say, $100,000. Well, I need to build you $100,000 house over here so that it's an even swap.
Right.
Just have a new place. Okay. Maybe even give you a little bit more, because really I'm thinking long term. This is an investment, because that $100,000 house that you was in is not going to be a $250,000, $300,000 house, because I'm going to upgrade it to that level, because there's individuals that say, I have $250,000, $300,000 house money. It just doesn't exist in this community. So I can't move into this community because I need certain aspects for me to move into this house. Two-car garage, solar panels, 3 and 4 bedrooms. I need to be lit. So there's a lot of ways to make that happen. It's just you got to have these conversations. And unfortunately, I work at UPS and I work 12 to 14-hour days, and I'm left with Friday and Saturday is my days off. And it's not like I don't have 2 parents in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Both want my attention. Mom more than dad. And it's like, come on. Such my mom. She's like, I'm going to cut my grass. Okay, Mom, you're retired.
Yeah.
Don't wait till Friday and Saturday when I'm off work to want to cut your grass. Like I don't have my own grass to cut. But man.
I taught you how to eat with a spoon.
You did. But we need to get you a riding lawnmower. Okay. Which she now has.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and once again, those are the types of things that you're navigating just as a human being, outside of all the other distractions and desires that you want to chase down. But the erotic art show.
Yes.
Let's get to that.
It is February 17th.
Okay.
I believe it's a Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I'll tell you real quick.
I don't think it's a Saturday. I think it's a Friday. It's got to be a Friday because I almost gave you the secret location.
Don't.
The secret
it is a Friday.
location.
It is a Friday.
You can't really announce the secret location, but it's not so secret. It's we've reached out to a number of artists to participate and share their erotic art. So it's definitely an erotic art show. So paintings, photography, across the board. But in addition, we've partnered with Shan. I can't think of her last name right offhand. But she's more of a body painter.
I know.
Okay.
She did the body art. She did it for the artist block.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think she did. I think she did something
when they had the glow party.
Yes. Yes. And I've known Shan for maybe since my first gallery space, definitely my last one. But we ran across her And there was some event, and somebody suggested that we reach out to Shan. And it wasn't a sneaker ball. Oh, it was the art battle.
Art battle.
Yes, the art battle.
Okay.
She went out in the first round. I think she should have made it to the second round, honestly. Yeah. But I wasn't one of the judges. But that's a whole other story. And that was after so she's bringing the body painting. She has connections in that erotic world to some degree. And I felt it was a good look for us to kind of work together because, I know her, and she had an element that we wanted to bring, but it wasn't as a partnership. So actually it was Sunny. Sunny suggested that I reached out to her to do a partnership. Okay. I'm like, you know what? I'll ask. We definitely were going to ask her to body paint, but a partnership, kind of elevates this relationship, and I think it'll be a good look. And she was like so thankful, which kind of, like, oh, I'm kind of glad I did that. It's nice, and especially when you talk about working with somebody that's doing something and working with somebody that's not doing something, because times when you work with somebody that is doing something, they become a blessing. And she has been a blessing as far as, doing her part, as far as reach out to other artists and definitely on the promotional side, you know what I mean? So, and then today's meeting prior to this podcast, I met with 3 Stacks, which is a neo soul band. Okay, that's what you mentioned earlier. Okay, yeah. And we've asked them, and our partner Ciandris recommended them because they do some Prince stuff, and we're like, we really want to go with this Prince vibe as far as if we're going to have a band, and they're going to play erotic music. I think Prince's by far has the biggest catalog, so if we can work out a deal with them to perform, I don't want to announce it until the first of the year. Okay. And that's because the type of stuff that we do as far as our arts program, because Uptown Greensboro is like the overarching umbrella, but there's always going to be an arts component to community development. I don't want to announce that we're having this band until the first of the year, because I want people to realize when we put out advance early bird tickets, y'all really need to go ahead and cop those. Yeah. And real quick, I just want to say,
so it's going to be sold out quick.
Laughing when you talking about the, having that Prince feel, like with the band, all that could pop in my head was Coming to America, Randy Watts and Sexual Chocolate.
Oh my God. No, sexual chocolate. But I like that. I might have to find that and use it in a promotional. Seriously. I like that. Yeah, okay. So funny. And it's funny because my partner was like, we've seen he saw some of his stuff more than I did. Okay. And he was like, they kind of have a church feel, and we're not trying to have a church revival. Right. We want it to be sexy. We want it to be dirty. Not dirty, but you know what I mean. Right. And I'm like, listen.
Seductive.
And this is where you have conversations. I'm like, listen. And I said, and even in the meeting, I said, I'm not going to throw my partner under the bus. He was like, I'll tell him. You guys have a certain kind of sound. And like I was telling them, like, listen, maybe it's because they were being hired by a certain promoter for a certain audience. And you have no idea that they might have that dirty, grimy,
Yeah, let's ask them.
Let's ask them before
see
we
what
just
they can
throw
bring
them under the bus.
Absolutely.
So that's where, me as quote unquote the leader, are having to have those types of conversations, because I want my partners to be like, you know what? That's a good point. Right. Before we throw them under the bus, at least it's not going to hurt us to have the conversation. But it got to the point where we say, you know what? Excuse my language. Fuck it. Send the deposit. And then we'll have the conversation. We did put a list of songs that we would like to see them do. They're doing a 45-minute set. Oh, wow. Yeah. We really just wanted 3 songs. But they were like, well, y'all going to pay for 45 minutes. Yeah. Like, well, we're going to pay for 45 minutes. Let's figure this out. Yeah. So, we got everybody together. We said, start finding some of these Prince songs that we can put together a playlist to give them, because we technically want like a medley. We don't necessarily want you to sing every song. We want you to be creative enough to say, we're going from this song to this song to this song, where people are like, I like the way you just did that. I like the way you just went through
I like that concept. Yeah.
Right. Almost like a mixtape, so to speak. Yeah. So ultimately with this erotic show, we really want to, how can I say this? Once against the algorithm, I think obviously none of us are here if somebody didn't have sex. So let's not pretend like sex is a part of existing. you're not necessarily going to be on Front Street with, your fetishes and your freakiness. But from an artistic standpoint, there's a lot of artists that do erotic stuff, but they never have an opportunity to really show their stuff. So for there have not to have been an erotic art show for the past, since we did one, and we're quote unquote back outside because we've been in kind of a hibernation with COVID. Let's do this erotic art show and let's just kind of see where our chips fall. And to be honest, we're gonna take that piece on the Monopoly board.
Yeah, I like that.
I love it.
That's an interesting piece right there.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and grab that before somebody else. I mean, we already grabbed the sneaker ball.
Yeah. I was the first. Well, it's like I hear about so many after you have done it. I've heard about so
many. That's always the case.
Oh, gosh. But that's how you want to be. That's what you want to be, the trendsetter. You don't want to be in the trend. You want to set the trend because it's going to be trendy because that's what we do.
When you create, not to say that I created a sneaker ball because I didn't. I knew a young lady that was in Winston-Salem that had done it years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. But you was the first person to bring it here.
But I was the first person
to
theoretically, because when I was telling my barber, one lady's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen those, kids." One of my friends did one. I'm like, yeah. I think ours is special because one, we're doing it during Juneteenth. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and you're celebrating.
We're celebrating because Juneteenth is still kind of somewhat new. We're still trying to kind of figuring out exactly what a Juneteenth celebration is. Me personally, I don't want it to be dashikis and and church revivals. And then when I was looking at the landscape of the partners that I'm working with when it came to Juneteenth, okay, Lavinia, you're doing, an all-female cabaret type show. Princess, you're recognizing, the older arts community, which is kind of morphed down to just recognizing our community that does things in the arts. Okay. April, you're doing the Black Food Truck Festival. It's more of a family day thing. And then at this particular, and then last year Nicole came in and she was doing the Gospel Superfest. As a single Black man, I'm like, where's the cool shit at? For me, that single, I said, you know what? I don't know where it came from. Sneaker ball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, your traditional, but what is traditional when it comes to Juneteenth, and that's how that kind of manifested. And then, we end up getting the Caliph and the entire building. And there's a lot of things that we learned from doing that we want to definitely, tighten up for next year. And since Tiffany is not doing the Black Wall Street, we're also going to do an arts and craft festival.
And, did you already get the park?
Got the park. Okay. We're still in conversation with Gina. And the Juneteenth committee wants to kind of take that under their umbrella and kind of push the sneaker ball as more of a partnership than an umbrella event under Juneteenth.
Well, I will be able to be a part of the festivities since I'm not doing something because it was so hard to do my stuff and then I'm peeping in at your stuff. I'm peeping in at what the downtown Greensboro with the food trucks. I was trying to peep in to everybody and support everybody. But I was exhausted by the end of the day when it came to going to your event. So I tell you, I was there for like 45 minutes, maybe 30. And then my couch was like, girl, if you don't get your butt home.
Listen, the fact that we're doing
it's going to be good next year.
On Friday and then the Arts and Craft Festival on Saturday.
Oh, you're doing the arts and crafts.
Yes.
You're going to be tired.
Ooh, we're tired.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. Got it.
It is a lot.
That's where the team comes in.
There you go.
And trying to empower them. So Ciandras, who's the one that got us in contact with the band, she's our special projects director. This is a special project that I want you to take on. And this is a group called OLP, I think. It's some young arts group here in Greensboro. They did a lot of stuff at the Artist Block. I reached out to them. So I'm like, you know what? The way I'm envisioning this festival manifesting itself, especially when you look at the landscape with April doing the Black Food Truck Festival downtown, I want to go for the younger audience. And since they have a younger audience as far as their entertainment, hey, from an entertainment standpoint, we want to give you guys that. over at Sternberger, and that should theoretically, from the marketing standpoint, be marketed towards your people to come to Sternberger for that event. Yeah. But at the same time, the arts and craft component, is really core to what we're doing as far as Arts Uptown Greensboro, our, company under Uptown Greensboro. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I'm gonna say this last thing. They was really trying to get me to move it to LeBauer. I'm like, no.
I'm glad you did.
No, really? This is still about Uptown. Yeah. I'm doing an event in Uptown. That's the reason why.
It's a great location.
It's a great location.
And everybody sleeps on it.
Okay, well.
I mean, I'm just saying to do events in that particular spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And and of course now Summit Avenue has gone through that landscaping a lot. So I got to figure out if we can really block off because Gina said we can't. Because that's where I was going to potentially put my food trucks. But we'll have to have that for another conversation.
Yeah, because if you get them to block it off, you let me know because I've tried to block it off.
And they told you no?
Exactly.
Oh. So this is a whole other thing. Like, hold on. Why he getting to block it off?
No. It wasn't. She was just saying how it's just going to cause congestion. But I was just like, that. If I put the food trucks in my mind, I could put the food trucks on the Summit Avenue. Then side. People just riding by, they're going to stop. So
I don't see why you can't do that right there. But needless to say, that's a conversation that I was driving. I couldn't really have. Yeah. She was giving me all these other suggestions. The part of me is like, I really need to have a conversation with Tiffany because you've done this, and we really haven't had that conversation as far as the way that you mapped your stuff out. Atiba wants to meet me out there. We're going to meet out there today. But that's cool. But there was a lot going on.
Atiba's great to work with.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's in Juneteenth now, so.
Oh, is he? Yeah, he has the, he does the blue, is it the Blues
Festival. Piedmont Blue Festival.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He's over that. I think he's the executive director over there. Yeah. Okay, but before we wrap it up, if you could let them know where they can contact you on your social media handles.
You can go to Uptown Greensboro. Actually, I think it's uptowngso.org. Mm-hmm. And most of our social media can be, you can get to it through there. Good. But most of the stuff that I do is usually on Instagram. Okay. Arts Uptown Greensboro. I'm not even sure which one that is. I think it's Arts Uptown GSO. Mm-hmm. Is the primary spot that I've been putting a lot of our art stuff. I kind of fallen back on the Uptown Greensboro stuff because I feel like I'm getting so much pushback on the community development side of the things, because there are a couple of buildings that I wanted that A&T has now obviously purchased. Just interesting, because it's like, just go to Joe's social media and see what he's been looking at, and let's go. Right.
That's what I was saying. That's why I said I'm scared for you, because they're gonna jack your idea, buddy. Listen, and because if they got the resources, why?
Listen,
and that's the
that's that part.
Listen, right. If you go to my website, you'll see there's a 2.0.
Okay. So you're already ready for if they start, then you have your 2.0 plan.
They don't even, it's there, but they don't even know it.
Okay.
That's
good for you.
Because sometimes when you're playing chess, you want them looking over here, but the attack is really coming from over here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Y'all think this is about this. It is, but it isn't, because I have a plan B, because that's how you play chess. Obviously, if you're, excuse my language, if your dumb ass is focused on this, and I can get you with that, great, game over. But if you're good, which most opponents are, you got to be able to recalibrate. Yeah. Not get frustrated. Yeah. Look at the long game. And right now, I've navigated more into the art side of the community development stuff, which is what I was doing when I had my gallery. So that's the reason why I've kind of fallen back on the Uptown Greensboro community development, even to the point where I didn't even do any community cleanups. I'm like,
because you usually do that.
And that was doing well, to the point where other people started doing community cleanups. Like, all of a sudden everybody wants to do a community cleanup now.
Thank you. Yeah, I told you, trendsetter.
Listen, I get it.
Because I think that's why Soul Society started doing the community cleanup on I'll be watching.
I'm like, interesting that you're now doing interesting. You're now doing one.
But that's what you want.
Interesting that you're now showing up to the community development. Yes. It's all good.
Because that's what you want. You need everyone.
But what you can't do,
come together.
You can't do this art stuff like I do.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's Cohen.
Facts. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of your knowledge and telling us about Uptown Greensboro and the erotic art show that's coming in February.
Yes. Get your tickets.
Friday.
Go to Uptown Greensboro. Go to the events page. You'll see both the erotic art show and the sneaker ball.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're out here in the streets. But I will say this. In 2 years, when I hope to retire, it's a wrap for y'all.
Okay.
I hear you.
I'm being funny.
I hear you.
No, you serious?
When I retire, I'm dead ass.
I know. Like, Joseph, I heard about your cocky ass in the community. He all humble now and giving grace.
When I retire from UPS, if I'm lucky.
Oh, yes.
If I'm lucky, I'm going to really go hard body. Even when it comes to my art, I'm kind of having to fall back on my personal stuff and make it about the organization. So even with this obey the algorithm, it's me doing my art, but it's in the context of the event. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of getting to do my art, but it's more so in, pushing the arts in our community because I feel like that's a part. And let me say one last thing. I keep saying that. With the erotic art show, and more specifically my presentation, we have these silent headphones. So you can watch it all day. It'll just be silent to you unless you have the headphones. I'm calling it silent erotica. Yeah. So and a matter of fact,
do you have tickets online? Like if I can't make it and I want to just watch it from my house,
I don't have that.
Do it streaming.
No, I'm literally trying to edit a continuous 4 hours of video. It's a lot.
That is a lot. We seen a streaming. What was it? It was artist. Authoring Action.
Yes.
It streamed and it was pretty good. We just watching it from home, and it's just if you can't make it, right, I can still pay for my ticket.
You mean the erotic art show?
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
It's too much work. Okay.
It's working with somebody that has the capabilities to be able to stream it. And then And then, my vision would be walking around and literally, having somebody on a switchboard, changing from this camera to that camera. Yeah. So I have that kind of idea and mindset. Yeah. It's just that, once again, when you normally operate on a grandiose level, you kind of have to say, you know what, let me fall back because this is just way too much right now. Even with Sternberger Park, when I was talking to Gina about what type of stage we wanted to put, I said, you know what? Let's fall back on the stage right now. There's a concrete pad over there.
That's what we did. We used in the reggae. Yeah, the reggae band. They set up their own backdrop with the black. They brought in what they need to make into a stage.
Right. So I'm like, you know what? Grandiose me. Let's get that stage. Me now. Let's fall back. Let's let this manifest itself, and we can look at it and say, what do we need to go to the next level next year? Because you also want to show progress.
Right. Okay.
Hey, I remember when this thing was just 4 or 5 people. Now this thing is 10,000 people strong. And the Black Food Truck Festival, not to shit on my partners, but to some degree, there is a little bit of a competition about who's going to have the most lit Saturday.
Always.
It's now over here at Sternberger. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go, we always do a I am segment. And it's just, you say the words I am and then give a description of how you're feeling right now. What are you right now? In the moment, in the space. If you would like to go first, you want to think about it?
I'm humble. Okay. I'm humble because, and I'll say this the way I expressed to you when you first reached out to me to do it for New Year's. I was like, oh, wow. I'm humbled that you're even asking me to be a part of your podcast. I mean, I know about your podcast, but we've never, really had any conversation about, hey, would you be interested at some point in time? So when you reached out to me at the kind of like I almost say the last minute, but it's kind of like out of the blue. It's like, and it's on New Year's? That's interesting. I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything at the moment. So sure. I'm humbled that you're even asking me, to kind of end or start the new year. But, even ending it was like, okay, I appreciate it. And I'm and here I am. So I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll go. Okay. You can go
I'm
last.
gonna do last.
Okay. I am present.
Okay. I do like that. Anything, Kurt, today? No? Okay, that's fine. And I am at peace. Mm-hmm. I have finally found the peace within me. And that took work to find it because I was such a busybody. And I realized that happiness is in the peace. It's not in the work that I'm doing or, the external things. I had to find it within and taking time for myself and getting away from everything. And now I'm finally there. Nice. I'm at peace. And it's a great space to be in.
I do want to say, no one asked you to elaborate. You just...
I was going to elaborate because others...
I was stop messing with you.
See, when people try to bring you out of your peace, people, what you do is it's a peace in you. You go to that place, and it brings you right back down.
Okay. And fortunately, you found it, and you know how to get there.
There you go.
Right. So that's a major part because you're not always going to be there because life is life.
Right.
But you know how to get back to that space, and that's important.
The algorithm's going to test you because that's what the algorithm does.
I know. And it makes you stronger when you test. I love how you say the algorithm is going to test you.
It's designed to do that. You're going to see some of the same things over and over again. It'll just be packaged differently.
Right. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Because it's the same emotion and it ignites the same emotion. And it seems I guess the algorithm wants to see how you're going to deal with it with this particular situation.
Listen, it's a chessboard. Multiple moves, but it's still, you going to put me in check or not? Is it going to be a draw until the next time we play?
Right. And so that is the discipline part of living that I'm finding.
And sometimes you get checked real quick.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Or checkmate real quick.
Okay. Well, before we get going we're going to close it out. Thank you all for watching another episode of Broad Belt Speaks.
Yeah. And remember, it's #1 podcast in the Triad.
The cameras are right there. Go ahead.
Oh, wait a minute. That's because she's going to video. I'm going to video it.
When
you do that.
Yeah. #1 podcast in Triad. I think you were saying that. And then also, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you go to broadbelt_speaks. Am I taking your part?
It's okay.
I'm going to go ahead and roll with it.
Yeah, and, just throw it all in.
And also, if you want to give us any suggestions of shows or someone that could be on the show, go to broadbeltspeaks03@gmail.com.
There it is.
Bye, people.
Peace.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.